I love writing cases because it's so satisfying. It's creative, which makes it fun, but it's also quick. When I write a paper, it can take months, even years. But a case, we're talking about a few weeks, and it's done. And it still has a broad impact. I love seeing where my cases go. Thousands of students in Canada and the US have read my cases, but they also go into far away places like China and India, Japan, Korea, Belgium, France, Spain. These are all places that I have not been, but my cases have. And I've impacted the students in all of those countries. That is satisfying. Writing cases helps build your credibility with students. So when you can show that you understand real-world scenarios, it's going to help students believe that you know what you're talking about. It can also help with your own research agenda. When you are writing a case, you're thinking deeply about the topic in ways that maybe you wouldn't usually think about it. And if it's a field case, you're talking to practitioners who are living this topic. So you're going to get a different perspective than you ever would have just looking at it from the academic point of view. That's valuable.
One of the questions I get asked a lot is, why do you write cases? And there's really 3 different reasons why I write cases. One of those reasons is just simply it allows me to bring something that I know a lot about into the class in a way that excites the students. I try and bring as much passion into my teaching and making the students as excited about what I teach as I can. And cases are one of the ways that I do that. The second reason I write a case is simply I want to know something about a certain person, a certain industry that I don't know. So by working with a company, I've got a relatively easy way to learn more about how that industry works and get to know people in the industry and that side. The third reason I write a case, actually very deliberately, has been to open doors on the research side. I've had industry partners that I've wanted to do research with, and one of the easiest ways for us to get to know each other is by working together on a case. Some of those cases have turned out to be some of my most successful and most interesting cases. So there's a lot of different reasons I can write cases. I view it as part of my scholarship to the community, and I find it very rewarding.
Oh, writing cases is such a fun activity. I guess I think of case writing as kind of a form of applied research. I think as academics we were all kind of drawn into this career because of an interest in exploring questions unknown. And case writing is a way of going out into the field, interacting with some people, ultimately a decision maker that has a particular problem that they're facing or challenge or opportunity. And we get to do some applied research. We get to understand their context. We get to dig in and explore possible solutions to that. And then we get to wrap it up into a case that we can walk into a classroom with and introduce to our own students. And so it's very applied research that ends up making a difference in the ways that leaders do what they do. And I find that a very powerful thing to do, and a very meaningful thing to do.
I write cases for a whole bunch of different reasons. One is that I get very excited about stories and the interesting business stories that people have to tell, and how those stories can become ways that we learn. And so I often write cases because I just run into somebody who's really interesting and has an interesting story, and I want to share it with other people. I write cases as well because I believe that cases can be a power for good in the classroom. They can bring to the classroom difficult subjects, which are really difficult to talk about in the abstract and often are difficult for students to be able to respond to because of their own personal experiences. Those are really powerful reasons to write cases. And for me, I write cases because I love to teach. And often I find that there are cases or situations that are missing in case catalogs. And so if I want to teach it, I have to write the case myself. I love writing cases. I love telling stories. And I think it's an engaging way for students to learn, but also for me to share with other instructors opportunities to teach.
Writing cases is fun. I've co-authored with people from China, from Taiwan, from Saskatchewan here in Canada. MBA students have approached me and said, I've got a great idea for a case. Can I write it with you? You get a chance to go out and interact with people, with companies, and learn about them, write about a situation that they had to deal with, and then bring it into the classroom and have your students read it, decide what they would have done in the same situation, and then have a discussion about what was actually done by the CEO of the particular company or the protagonist in the case, and see how that lines up with what the students would have suggested. Having said that, it's also good to know that as your cases get sold through some place like Ivey Publishing, that you are impacting students. Every student who reads your case is going to be impacted by something you wrote. One of the things we sometimes forget as academics is that the impact of our case writing is much broader in the number of people who are impacted, such as students, than our journal articles. Not to say that you shouldn't do both. I'm a firm believer that we should do both. But journal article impact is very different and sometimes not as far-reaching as the impact of the cases we write and the people who interact with us through our cases.
I write cases because for me, case writing is just really, really fun. As an academic, I have part of the time that I spend in the classroom. I have part of the time that I do research for academic journals. But I find I really need also to write cases. Because once you've written your first, it's a bit addictive. You write one and then you want to write more and more and more, particularly as you are able to see them used in a classroom scenario. It's a lot of fun to see students take things from your case that you've written that you didn't actually anticipate in the earlier drafts. I find there's a different discussion every time, and it's just really exciting to see that come out in a classroom setting. The other great thing about case writing is you don't have to do it alone. I've made some great connections with people as I case write. Most of my cases are actually co-authored with people, and whether it's people from your own institution or other institutions, I've met people from all over the world with whom I've now written cases. It's a great opportunity to expand your own research capabilities, engage other people at different organizations, and come up with an end product, which is a case that students are going to love in the classroom, and that's going to engage them in a really different, unique, and really exciting way.
Well, first, I enjoy it. It's, you go get to work with interesting companies, and you get to work with them to understand how they made decisions. But most importantly, we do a fair amount of teaching. I do less teaching now that I'm the dean, but I've always done a fair amount of teaching. It's a lot of fun to teach a case if it's a company I know, it's videos I made with the company, I'm much more able to teach the case and to know the subtleties, that go way beyond a teaching note. So it's fun, it makes the teaching more rewarding, and it tends to be more on point with the way I think about these concepts because I wrote it. The other benefit, though, is for those of us who do practitioner-oriented research, there's kind of the strictly academic research, but also practitioner-oriented research. A lot of times cases can be good raw material that feeds into your research stream. So earlier in my career, I did a lot of work on offshoring and the globalization of services. I first stumbled on this topic because I wanted to write a case about a high-tech industry in a low-income country. So I did software in India. And when I got there, I just found a lot of interesting phenomena that I hadn't been aware of, from sitting in North America. I did a whole series of cases, wrote a couple of modules on this stuff, and then that eventually led to some academic articles. It led to a book that I wrote. So if you do it well, one reason to do the cases is it's fun to teach your own stuff, and you need material to have successful courses. But if you do it well and you do it methodically, it can actually complement your research by opening up new examples and new vistas that you might not have come across if you were just sitting in your office.
I write cases when I see a gap. I have a course, and there's a really important concept that I want to address that includes a decision around a particular set of material, and I haven't been able to find that in a current case. So that's often the impetus for me to go and write a new case. The other time is I have a case that I love, but frankly it's aging, and it's really starting to show its age. And I think depending on who is the learner in the classroom, you can get away with older cases. But often, I think, especially with our younger students, they're looking for something within a context that makes sense to their reality. And of course they are. And so this is a great case that I might have today. What other organization do I know that might be going through something like that in a contemporary setting that I can then bring to the classroom?
I write cases because I like the control I have. I also like the credibility it gets when my name is on the case and the students think I know more than they do. And really, I like the control that I know what questions are going to be up, I know why I put that material in, and I know generally the flow of the discussion because I designed it that way.